this is my review of My Hero Academia. Okay, so this is going to be a very exposition-heavy review. So this review is about an episode that's very exposition-heavy and has a lot of, and basically this episode just connects a lot of things that were mentioned in previous episodes and how they all fit into the bigger picture. So that's mainly what this episode is, while also introducing some new information that we definitely need going forward. So the episode starts off with Kimishima, Deku, Uraraka, and Asui just getting ready to go to their hero work studies, but discover that they're actually all headed to the same place. Eventually, they get to where they're going and meet up with the big three. And they go inside to discover that there are a whole assortment of pro heroes, from people they know, from people we've met before, like Fat Gum and Eraserhead, to new heroes that we haven't really seen before. Aizawa was there as well for reasons that are eventually explained. And also Ryukyu explains exactly what's going on. So Asui and Uraraka already know what's going on. They've more or less been caught up to speed with what's going on. They've been told that they're actually going to be involved in a new case. They were told that a while ago, and this is the day where that's actually going to come into play. So they realize that it's part of the new case and just kind of accept what's going on. Meanwhile, Kirishima's just kind of there. He doesn't really understand what's going on. But he admits that if he was invited, he was probably involved somewhat. But once everybody is assembled, Nighteye actually assembles everybody in the council room and explains exactly what happened. So this is where things get a little exposition heavy. So, starting with the incident with Team Reservoir Dogs at the start of the arc, if you guys remember that happened a long time ago by this point. They've been investigating the Shie Hassaikai and their involvement with the League of Villains, and it's revealed that Gran Torino, who is also there, was involved in the investigation, which is why he didn't take Deku on it for his internships. So, and also apologizes to Deku personally, explaining that he should have done better to try and keep Deku out of it, but it didn't work. Sure enough, they explained how the Shie Hassaikai has been more or less just increasing its numbers and has also been experimenting in drugs, which why Fat Gum is there, because he used to deal with drugs and stuff a whole lot. And sure enough was called in to investigate, to weigh in on his area of expertise. And sure enough, he does exactly that, explaining how Kirishima and Tamaki's involvement actually helped him get a hold of a sample of the bullet that they've been developing. And sure enough, it's a bullet that as I predicted, actually does erase quirks. And at which point Eraserhead leans in, and Aizawa explains that the way his quirk works is that he doesn't do any damage to the quirk itself. He just kind of causes it to stop being suppressed. He uses his quirk, it causes the quirk to stop being suppressed and their quirk without actually harming their quirk factor. However, what this drug is actually doing is actually causing actual physical harm to a person's quirk, and is actually causing their quirk to be degenerated at an accelerated rate. Fortunately, Tamaki was able to heal because of what it was still in the beta phase, but Fat Gum quickly realizes that if they continue to produce this technology, they can remove a quirk entirely. And sure enough, because of Kirishima, they were actually able to get a sample of the bullet and what it uses to actually erase people's quirk, and openly admits that what he found made him a little bit sick to his stomach, and explains that it was actually contains human blood and cell tissue. So it's quickly revealed that by that the bullet actually uses a person's quirk to erase abilities, and realizes that that's very dangerous, because there's a very likely possibility that someone is going to get their quirk erased permanently if they don't know what the quirk actually does. So with that, it's very quickly becomes very scary. At which point it's revealed that there's most likely a connection between the Shie Hassaikai and this quirk bullet, because they realize that Overhaul is able to disassemble people and reassemble them at will with his quirk. And they also point out that he has a little girl named Eri, who we've met, and explains that Eri's quirk most likely has the ability to erase people, and surmises that it's entirely possible that Eri is being taken apart piece by piece and turned into a weapon. Basically, she's being taken apart piece by piece. Her cells are being put in the bullets, and that's what's being used to fuel the quirk erasing bullets. And sure enough, the reason they come to this conclusion is because not only does Overhaul have the ability to take people apart, but Eri, as we've seen, is very much covered in a lot of bandages from head to toe. And Mirio and Deku immediately go into a grim disposition because they realize that it was basically their fault. They quickly realize that they have a lot of things they need to work through, and they realize that if they had saved Eri at that moment, they probably could have prevented this from happening. And sure enough, immediately stand up and proclaim loudly that they will save her next time. So, at which point, Sir Nighteye actually reveals his plan, which is what he assembled everybody there to do. So the reason he assembled so many heroes, both major and minor, is so that he could have people investigate every single one of the Shie Hassaikai strongholds, so they can actually build a case against them. So basically, what happened? So basically, what he did is he wants to try and plan everything out meticulously and make sure that nothing can go awry. That's what his big goal is. He wants to make sure everybody has a part to play and is able to actually analyze everything and is able to actually figure out where Eri is so they can actually perform a raid and get her back. So with that they reveal that everything needs to be in tip-top order. However, Eraserhead quickly brings up an important point, which is that Sir Nighteye could actually just use his quirk to make sure that nothing goes wrong and just watch them. At which point, Sir Nighteye reveals how his quirk works. So, his quirk apparently has a very major limitation, which is that not only can he only see things from the perspective of the person he uses his quirk on, but he can only use it once. Literally once, and then he's spent for the rest of the day. So, he's only able to use it for one person, and even then, he's afraid to do it because he could very well easily predict an imminent death. And considering that's kind of the reason he has a rocky relationship with All Might, he's very reluctant to do that again. So he wants to make sure that he doesn't really want to do that for personal reasons. And sure enough, after he explains that, the meeting is adjourned and everybody gets ready to go out with their assignments. All the students gather at a table outside and begin contemplating what exactly they need to do, and while also just kind of having a bit of a emotional dump. Deku in particular is very distraught because Deku and Mirio are very distraught because it was more or less their fault that Eri was still being held captive by Overhaul. So they realized that if they had done something, she probably would be fine. And sure enough, and oddly enough, out of all things, Aizawa actually comes out and picks up everybody's motivation. He explains to Deku that while he doesn't necessarily still trust him enough yet, he also realizes that Deku is most likely going to just go off and do his own thing anyway, and decides to stand with him, provided that Deku uses his head and stays level. And Mirio realizes that in order to actually become a more better hero, he actually needs to learn to smile more and not think about what had happened, but what he could do. And sure enough, that enables him to actually pick himself back up, and the two are back to their usual jovial selves. And sure enough, begin to formulate a plan to actually rescue Eri. Meanwhile, while that scene's happening, Nighteye and Gran Torino actually have a bit of a conversation, and it's revealed that Nightaye's the whole reason for actually being taken on is that Gran Torino actually sent Deku his way to try and see what Nighteye thought, and also to try and mend the rift between the two heroes. So sure enough, Nighteye mentions that they are very similar, almost scarily in fact. They are very similar and have a very similar mindset, and he's very worried about what Deku will do to follow in his mentor's footsteps. Meanwhile, Deku has finally found his new resolve and plans to save Eri. So yeah, this episode was very exposition heavy. This episode is mainly to just get all of our ducks in a row so that we have all the information we need to actually go forward. So it's everything we need, even a few minor details like the fact that the two giants that Uraraka and Asui fought a couple of episodes ago were actually involved in this. they actually took a quirk-enhancing drug, and that's why they were having a dispute in the first place, because one of them was part of the Shie Hassaikai, and it just got kind of escalated from there. But yeah, it introduces a lot of major and minor things, and also Eri alone remarks that Deku was the first kind hand she's felt in a long time. So yeah, it's very clear that Overhaul abuses her a lot. So, and she's kind of remarking to that to herself. So yeah, this episode overall just covers a lot of plot points that we just need to know. It is a very exposition heavy episode. I hope I did enough justice to actually cover what I needed to cover. I hope. But it is very exposition heavy, and there is a lot of things you guys need to know to go forward. So hopefully I did a good job. If not, watch the actual episode and it'll work a lot better out. I promise, probably. But yeah, this episode was mostly just to catch everybody up on what was going on and help them lay out all the different plot points that we've been thrown, because there are a lot of them at this point, and we just need to know everything. There's a lot of little intricacies with this arc that we just need to know going forward. And this episode is what that's for. It's a set in a static location and just exposition dumps, which is fine. And well, it's not so much exposition dumping as it is exposition rearranging. It just makes sure that we know everything. But yeah, it's just one big exposition dump that just makes sure we have all the facts straight before we actually go into the next couple of episodes. And that's fine. That's what the episode is. But in any case, yeah, that's my review of My Hero Academia. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks on my way saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!